Namaskar, friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu editorial analysis on October 4, 2023. Friends, imagine we were to read our own obituary note. Suppose it happened in a mistake and something is very much shocking written about us and our life in our obituary. Something like the mistakes, highlighting the mistakes which we had done in our life. This is what happened with Alfred Nobel, the name on whom the Nobel Prize is awarded for medicine, for physics, for chemistry, for economics, and for peace. Alfred Nobel was reading the newspaper one day when he noticed upon his own obituary, which was written just like this: The merchant of death is dead. He was very much pained at the same time shocked to learn that people considered him the merchant of death. He had 355 patents to his name, and dynamite was one among them. Since dynamite was used for destructive purposes, the obituary which read by Alfred Nobel contained his own obituary before his death, which said that the merchant of death is dead. However, this was a mistake. People mistook Alfred Nobel for Ludwig. Ludwig was his brother, and the day when he was reading his obituary, his brother had died. The day before, his brother Ludwig had died, and this obituary was mistaken, and therefore the newspaper considered that Alfred Nobel was dead, and therefore it ran the obituary. Then the newspaper realized the mistake and apologized. However, one thing Alfred Nobel noted from this newspaper, that if a person does something not good for the humanity, something of the category of the discovery of the dynamite, the world would term him as the merchant of death, and the world would hate. This is what he learnt. The anathema of the world he did not want to invoke after the death. Anathema means the hatred, something which is not liked. This anathema he wanted to remove by announcing that a Nobel Prize on his name would be given every year after his death. His will was written like this: to the discoveries which catered to the development and improvement and welfare of the humanity. There is an article which I would be discussing after discussing the technical side of the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine. I would be discussing another article on the ethics of the Nobel Prize, which is given this year in 2023. First, let me discuss the technical side of the Nobel Prize. You will remember this incident or anecdote which I have told you now when I discussed about the ethics of the Nobel Prize, which I would be doing in a short while from now after discussing the editorial article on the technicalities of the Nobel Prize on Medicine. Friends, let us take up the technicality of the Nobel Prize on Physiology by discussing the editorial article shot in the arm. So, Hungarian Katalin Karikó and the American Drew Weissman have been selected as the Nobel Prize winners of Physiology or Medicine this year 2023 for their remarkable achievement in finding the vaccination, that is mRNA vaccination against the S strain of the SARS-CoV, that is the COVID virus. So let us decode the technicality of these aspects. Friends, I hope you know about the cell biology. The cell comes from the Latin word cellar, which means room. So cell is a room in which the walls are the cytoplasm. There are two RNAs in the cell, that is mRNA and ribosome. And there is a nucleus in which the DNA is contained. So DNA contains the information about the behavior and characteristics of the cell and its functions. This DNA material transmits. DNA is like a house inside a city. If cell is considered to be a city, the DNA is a house. So it has to convey some information to another portion of the city for getting things done. What is getting things done here is the production of proteins. So the DNA in the cell nucleus sends a letter through messenger RNA, which is known as mRNA. mRNA carries this information from the cell nucleus and carries it to the cytoplasm. And the information contained in the mRNA is transmitted, and the ribosome, which is another RNA, is cooking up the protein or the amino acids necessary for the body part in which this cell is containing. This is what happens in a cell. Now, what is the discovery? In 1980s, it was discovered that through in vitro injection, IV injection, the mRNA could be altered. The base of mRNA could be altered. This base contains 4 elements: adenine, thymine, uracil, and guanine. Changing one of the bases changes the base of the mRNA. And this is necessary because there was a dendrite which is closer to the skin. This dendrite is responsible for the reaction, that is immune reaction. It is lying closer to the skin, this dendrite. Weismann was researching on dendrite, and this dendrite was responsible for immune response to the any kind of diseases which happens to the body. What was existing earlier was that a cell culture was conducted. It took several years for the cell culture to develop vaccines for the diseases or outbreaks. This was considering not feasible because immediate response was necessary when some pandemic set in. Therefore, the changing of the base of the mRNA was necessary, and it was also necessary to consider that the time required for response to the outbreaks like COVID was very minimal. So, what happened was that there were two challenges. One, inflationary reactions by the cell, which prohibited this mRNA base to be changed. And the second was that the pathway had to be created for delivering this change to the mRNA, delivering this base change to the mRNA. These two aspects were just helpful if it was launched in the dendrite, which is closer to the skin. And in the dendrite, when the change base of the mRNA was delivered, it used to be producing inflationary reactions, therefore, it took several years. I told you in 1980 itself, this mRNA based change was discovered and it was used for several diseases. However, why it took so much long to control the delivery and the inflationary reactions is that something changing the base of adenine, guanine, cytosine, or thymine or uracil was necessary. And this was achieved by Catalin and Weizmann. And therefore, this year's Nobel Prize goes to them. This has helped the mankind, definitely helped the mankind, but the ethics of it I will come to you later. First of all, this is a very magnificent discovery, and therefore the Nobel Prize goes to the 13th woman in physiology. So, a woman who saved this world, Catalin, deserves our appreciation, not only appreciation, our heartfelt gratitude for such a discovery, and we congratulate her, especially her in this discovery. Friends, I already told you I would come to the ethics of the 2023 Nobel Prize. The title of the article, which narrates this beautifully in today's Hindu, is that the trouble with a Nobel for mRNA based COVID vaccine. What does this discuss, my dear friends? This discusses the ethics of giving Nobel Prize to the duo who are awarded Nobel Prize for the mRNA based vaccination against the COVID. This article highlights that Pfizer manufactured mRNA vaccination did not reach many. The Nobel Prize, the ethics of the Nobel Prize, initially while starting the discussion of today's session, I told how Alfred Nobel wanted the benefits of the discovery to reach the humanity. However, whether this discovery 2023 Nobel Prize, the source of which or the which was based upon this mRNA vaccination, whether it reached the poor and the benefit of humanity has to be checked. It did reach, this mRNA kind vaccination did reach USA and European countries. However, it did not reach the developing nations like Africa. Therefore, considering that the Nobel Prize is always awarded for the widespread development and widespread benefits to the humanity, this is broken in this year's Nobel Prize 2023 because the duo, the Hungarian Catalin and the American Weizmann of the Pfizer, who gave the patent to Pfizer to produce vaccination for the Europeans and the Americans, they did make a huge amount of money, and this fortune they made did not result in getting these medicines to the Africans. Friends, how a patent is taken, do you know? For vaccination and medicines and all, the patent means that a huge hefty subsidy from the government, and we people are paying taxes, and with these taxes the subsidy the government gives to the production of or the development of vaccination. The vaccination takes a huge sum of fortune to be spent on this. Therefore, the government gratuitously gives some kinds of grants or subsidies. Naturally, this mRNA vaccination development also got lots of subsidies and investment of the government. However, the doubly taxing the people with huge prices for these vaccinations just raised some doubts whether the taxes which were paid by the general public for the benefit of the general public themselves, was this reflected greatly in the Pfizer's highly pricing of the medicines during the COVID times, and taking advantage of the COVID times, Pfizer made huge fortunes, and the Nobel Prize winners Catalin and Weizmann also produced huge fortunes. This is a question on the nobility of the Nobel Prize which it represents, my dear friends. And coming to the second part of this article, we are discussing about the ethics of the 2023 Nobel Prize on Physiology. Coming to the second part of this, we have another vaccination called Corbevax produced by America. And this Corbevax was transferred to the Indian manufacturer, that is the Biological E. This Biological E got this Corbevax vaccination. The American institute which produced this vaccination did not take the patent at all. That means that this is for the benefit of all, and this is the ethical part of it. Whether this discovery deserves the Nobel Prize or the earlier discovery where the fortunes were just rising and rising and the people were suffocated with the prices of the medicines, and even the African people, despite having COVAX grouping on which the Russia, China and India sent the vaccinations, did not, Africa was completely neglected. So, I hope, and the article also says that the Corbevax discovery, which did not want patent, and it was subsidized, heavily subsidized for the easy availability of the people. This deserved the Nobel Prize for 2023 Nobel Prize on Physiology, my dear friends, and not the earlier one, which was not for the benefit of the whole world, humanity at large. Friends, what is command liability? Is there any law which punishes the command liability? Is what discussed with the article titled the triumph of Vachati over a hostile state. This hostile state is Tamil Nadu under the rule of Jayalalitha around 30 years ago, when the forest officials, revenue officials and the police entered a village and created havoc and undermined the respect of the 655 tribals and they were tried under the Prevention of Atrocities 1989 Act against the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. What is command liability? I want to highlight this point. Command liability is the liability of the state government which creates such atrocities. The state government leadership is producing such kind of atrocities. There is no law in India, there is no punishment in India for such organized crime by the government or state government or the central government. Even the new Samhidas which has been released, my dear friends, does not contain any kind of punishment for the organized crime conducted by the state government or the central government. This is very beautifully highlighted in this article. Well, the Adivasi tribes of Vachati deserve a special congratulations for their win after 33 decades of war against the state administration. But ultimately, only the officers who were responsible are punished and not the state government itself. So, the punishment for the state government is not written anywhere, and this is very much highlighted even in the new Samhita which is being released. This is a very gross negligence on the part of the democratically elected government, and the democracy means having punishment and having the well placed systems for the offenders, whether it be the government, whether it be the public, or whether it be the machineries of the government, whether it be the officers of the government. Friends, go through this article, you will now understand what is control responsibility, what is command responsibility, and what is command liability. Friends, let me discuss whether artificial intelligence is required for audit or not. Considering that one audit, one system, which the Controller and Auditor General is going to implement from 2023 April, which has been in implementation using AI tools for auditing. This is the title of the article, using AI as an audit tool. In the recently concluded G20, the Supreme Audit Institutions meeting, our Control and Auditor General has emphasized that the artificial intelligence tools are not so reliable. They have some inaccuracies. They may result in inaccurate findings because we have something called a chat GPT. Many websites are telling that chat GPT can be used as an Excel tool and something like that. What happens is that if the AI tools are gathering evidence from reliable sources, then it can be used as an audit tool. If it is taking information from social media where the cooked up information may be available, this would spoil the process of auditing, my dear friends. So, inaccurate data taken from different sources, if we take it for auditing, this will spoil the heart and soul of the auditing exercise. The Controller and Auditor General, the CNAG, conducts audit, three kinds of audit. There is financial audit, compliance audit, and performance audit. In conducting the audit now, the CNAG tries to use the AI. The regulation, there is no regulation for regulating the AI tools in India. First, we have to make regulations for regulating the AI tools in India, then only we can think of auditing with the AI tools. Otherwise, what will happen is that the inaccurate data which is taken or captured by the chat GPT kind of things, even the Elon Musk is telling that we are going to release the accurate GPT. Rather than taking everything from the chat GPT, we are going to introduce accurate GPT. there is already European Union is the first country to pass the regulation on an AI, which is named as EU AI Act. But India is still grappling with the problem of releasing or just introducing an regulation for the artificial intelligence, leaving the prospects of using it as an audit tool. This is a very early one. This is a very early step, and therefore much thought process has to go before just concluding it as an audit tool, my dear friends. So, concluding it, let me take the key takeaways from today's discussion, my dear friends. First one is that the Nobel Prize is meant for the discovery which is devoted to the welfare of the humanity of all the nations of the world. However, this year's Nobel Prize does not for physiology does not seem to be so. Then the command control which is being discussed, my dear friends, command control is about the responsibility of the elected government on the crimes which is committed organized by the government. And last but not least, I have left one article. It is about the Cricket World Cup, the ICC Cricket World Cup, which is going on now. Today it has started, my dear friends. On October 5 it has started. The article is titled All Why for the Cup. We are having some new stadiums like Dharmashala. Earlier it used to be the Mumbai and Calcutta, which used to be the most of the games used to be played. And now what happens is that it has shifted its focus to Ahmedabad, the Narendra Modi Stadium, and Dharmashala. Some new names are occurring in the cricket scenario. It is always believed that the jinx is that the host will not win the game. But the past three games, 2011 India won the game, 2015 Australia won the game, 2019 England won the game. Now India will surely win the game. All why for the cup. Our bowling team is ready. Our fast bowling team is ready. Our spin bowling team is ready. We have a great batting lineup, and the game is played in India, so we have great supporters. So we'll wish all the best for our team. Let our team repeat its success of the 2011, the Nonis men who won the World Cup 1983, 2011, and let it be 2023 when we win the World Cup for the third time. With these words, let me conclude, my dear friends. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.